The sky above Orbita Station was dark, broken only by the light of distant stars and the glow of engines moving fast. The station floated like a giant wheel spinning slowly in space. Inside, people talked, worked, and tried to live normal lives, even though they were far from home. But then came the attack. It started with a flash, bright and sudden. Alarms screamed through the halls. Lights flickered. People ran. The Virax had come without warning, their ships dropping out of warp like shadows falling on a campfire. Orbita's guards fought back, but they were not ready. The Virax were faster, stronger, and cruel. Their weapons burned through walls and armor alike. Soldiers fell and civilians screamed as the invaders moved deeper into the station. Captain Lisa Hawthorne had been in a meeting when it happened. Now she was running, her boots pounding against metal floors. Smoke filled the air and the smell of fire made her eyes water. She pulled a young girl behind a corner, hiding them both as a Virax soldier passed by. They waited. When it was clear, she whispered, "Stay close." They moved through broken halls, past bodies and blood. Other survivors joined them, some hurt, some scared, all trying to survive. They reached a damaged escape pod, one that still worked. The door hissed open and Lisa pushed the girl inside. "You'll be okay," she said, checking the controls. The pod was old, maybe too old, but it was their only chance. Outside, Orbita was falling apart. Explosions rocked the station. Fires spread like weeds. More pods launched, small lights disappearing into the dark. Lisa climbed in last. She closed the door and hit the launch button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a violent jolt, the pod shot away from the dying station. Inside, silence. The girl cried softly. Others stared at the screen, watching as Orbita became smaller and smaller until it exploded in a burst of fire and light. Lisa looked away. She felt sick. She sat up straight and turned on the comms. Static. She tried again. Finally, a voice crackled through. "This is Captain Lisa Hawthorne of Earth. If anyone can hear this, Orbita is gone. We're all that's left. Please, help us." The message sent. She leaned back and closed her eyes. Space was cold and quiet, and they were alone. Far from the ruins of Orbita Station, out near the edge of known space, the Earth fleet frigate Liberty floated silently in the dark. Its hull was worn, its paint faded, but it was still flying. Inside, life was quiet. Routine, boring even. Lieutenant Jake Morrow sat in the command chair scrolling through reports he didn't really care about. He was a soldier, not a desk jockey. He missed the feel of dirt under his boots, real air in his lungs. Space was cold and fake, but this was his post, and he did his job. The crew was small but good, hardened by years of border patrols and pirate chases. They weren't heroes. Just regular people trying to keep the peace in a galaxy that mostly ignored Earth. Then came the signal. It was weak, broken by static and distance, but when they cleaned it up, they heard her voice. "This is Captain Lisa Hawthorne of Earth. If anyone can hear this, Orbita is gone, we're all that's left, please help us." Silence filled the bridge. Jake looked at his XO, Commander Ellen Briggs. She raised an eyebrow. He knew what she was thinking. They were low on fuel, short on backup, and way out of their lane. Going to Orbita meant flying straight into danger, maybe war. But Jake stood up. "Plot a course," he said. Some of the crew hesitated. A few whispered. They knew the Virax were brutal. Everyone had heard the stories. Nobody fought them and won. Ellen stepped closer. "You know we'll be alone out there, right? No support, no fleet, just us." Jake nodded. "We can't leave them." They jumped to warp the next morning. For 3 days, they flew through deep space. The engines groaned. The food got worse. Tension ran high. Some of the crew thought they were chasing ghosts. Others thought they were already dead. On the 4th day, they dropped out of warp near where Orbita used to be. There was nothing but wreckage and silence. Jake stared at the screen. Pieces of the station floated like bones in the dark. Fires still burned in some parts, no movement, no life, or so they thought. Then they saw it, a faint signal blinking from below the debris. One escape pod. Still alive. Jake didn't wait. Suit up. We're going down. They launched a rescue shuttle, cutting through the floating remains of what used to be a place of peace. When they found the pod, they pulled it in fast. Inside were survivors. Burned. Shaking. Scared. Lisa Hawthorne looked up at Jake, eyes red, face covered in dust. "You came," she whispered. Jake gave her a tired smile. "Yeah, we came." And for the first time in days, someone believed there was still hope. The shuttle docked and the survivors were taken inside the Liberty. Medics moved fast. The injured were given care. Lisa Hawthorne sat on a bench in the corner, wrapped in a blanket, eyes still wide from what she had seen. Jake stood nearby, watching her. He didn't ask questions yet. She would talk when she was ready. Hours passed. The Liberty drifted in silence, scanning the wreckage for more signs of life. There were none. Then the sensors picked up movement. "Sir," called the radar officer. "We've got incoming." Jake turned. "Who?" Before anyone could answer, red beams cut through the dark. Explosions rocked the ship. Alarms screamed. Virex scouts. They had come back to finish the job. They didn't expect anyone to be here. "Battle stations," Jake shouted. Crew ran to their posts. Shields went up. Weapons powered on. Outside, 3 Virex fighters circled like wolves. Ellen Briggs looked at Jake. "We can't fight them and run. We're too slow." Jake thought fast. Then he made a call. "We don't run. We hit hard." He ordered the crew to seal off sections of the ship. Lights dimmed. Air grew cold. He grabbed a rifle and led a team into the lower decks. Sam, the engineer, followed with a pack full of explosives. And tools, most of them not meant for fighting. Lisa stood up. "I'm coming too." Jake looked at her. "You should rest." "I've fought these things before," she said. "Let me help." They moved fast through the halls. The Liberty took another hit. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Smoke filled the air. One fighter latched onto the hull, preparing to board. Jake and his team waited in the dark. When the hatch blew open, they were ready. Grenades flew. Shots rang out. The Virex soldiers were strong, but the humans were angry. They fought close, wild, and without fear. Sam rigged a charge and blew part of the deck, sealing the enemy inside. By the time it was over, 2 Virex lay dead. One was hurt but alive. Jake looked down at the prisoner. It stared back, confused. It had expected easy prey. Instead, it found fighters. "Get this thing locked up," Jake said, "and get me everything we can learn from it." Lisa looked at him. "You just started a war." Jake sighed. "No. They did." The Liberty jumped to warp before more enemies arrived. Behind them, the battle was over. But out in the galaxy, something new had begun. The Liberty jumped to warp, leaving the ruins of Orbita behind. Inside, the crew was still shaking from the fight. Blood stained the floors. Smoke filled some halls. The prisoner sat locked in a small room, staring out through thick glass. No one said much at first. Jake walked through the ship, checking on his people. The medics worked hard. Sam sat near the engine room, cleaning soot off her face. Lisa followed him, still tired, but wide awake. "You really didn't expect to survive that," she said. Jake looked at her. "Didn't matter, we had to try." She nodded. She understood. They reached friendly space 2 days later. Earth Command picked them up fast. Orders came in, returned to base. No questions, no delays. When they landed, high-ranking officers were waiting. They took the prisoner first. Then Jake, Lisa, and Sam were pulled into a big room with cold chairs and bright lights. Reports, debriefs, warnings. "Do you know what you've done?" one officer asked. Jake leaned back. "We saved survivors, and we fought back." "That fight could start a war," another said. Lisa stood. "Then it's already started." The next few days changed everything. News of the rescue spread. At first, Earth tried to keep it quiet. But someone leaked the truth, how a small human crew fought off Virex attackers and captured one alive. Across Earth, people watched the reports. Some were scared, others were proud. In bars, schools, and streets, people talked about the Liberty, about Jake, about Lisa, about how humans didn't run, how they fought. Sam became a kind of hero without trying. Her quick thinking with the explosives made the difference. She didn't like the attention, but she didn't hide from it either. Back on the ship, the crew cleaned up, fixed what they could, waited for orders. Jake got a new one. Stay put. Don't. Huck, let the brass handle things. But he knew something was coming. On a screen in the mess hall, a broadcast played. A Virex leader spoke in sharp clicks and growls. Translators read his words aloud. The humans are weak. Their win was luck. We will crush them. Jake watched the message with the others. He didn't say anything at first. Then he stood up. Well, he said, guess we'll have to show them again. Some of the crew laughed. Others looked serious. They all knew now. This wasn't over. It was just getting started. Earth was changing. What once seemed like a quiet planet on the edge of space had now become something else, something the galaxy could not ignore. After the Liberty's return, more soldiers joined the fight. Ships that had been used for patrol were upgraded. Factories worked day and night to build new weapons and armor. Across Earth, people talked about one thing. The Virex were coming, and humans would not run. Jake Morrow stayed busy. He trained new recruits, he gave reports, he met with officers who still didn't trust what had happened. But deep down, he knew it wasn't enough. Defending Earth meant more than speeches and plans. It meant taking the fight to the enemy. The chance came when Intel showed a massive Virex base hidden inside a dead moon. It was a staging point for their next attack, one that would target Earth's outer colonies. Command wanted to send a full fleet, but Jake knew that wouldn't work. The Virex would see them coming. If they wanted to stop this before it started, they needed to go in unseen. So a small team was formed. Volunteers only. Sam was the first to sign up. She had spent weeks studying the captured Virex tech and could help disable security systems. Lisa came too, offering her knowledge of Virex, tactics from her time on Orbita. They called it Operation Blackdrop. The plan was simple. Steal a Virex transport, sneak past enemy lines, land on the moon, plant explosives, and get out before anyone knew what hit them. But nothing ever goes as planned. The drop was rough. Their stolen ship barely made it through the outer defenses. They landed in a shadowed canyon far from the main base. The air was thin. The sky was red. They moved fast, staying low. Sam hacked into a nearby outpost and got access to the base layout. Inside were hundreds of Virex soldiers, weapons, tanks, dozens of ships ready to launch. This wasn't just a base, it was an army. Jake looked at his team. We plant the charges and we hit hard. No second chances. They split into two groups. One to create a distraction, one to reach the core. Gunfire broke out. Alarms screamed. Smoke filled the halls. The Virex fought back, but the humans were faster, smarter, and angry. Sam reached the core with seconds to spare. Wires flew. Panels sparked. Explosives clicked into place. Then the countdown began. "Let's go," Jake shouted. They ran. Shots. Missed by inches. Doors slammed shut behind them. The base shook. Outside, the sky lit up. The explosion tore through the moon, turning steel to fire and rock to dust. Back on Earth, the footage played across every screen. Humans had done the impossible again. The explosion on the dead moon was seen across half the sector. Ships from distant systems picked up the shockwave. Virex commanders scrambled for answers. And across the galaxy, others watched. Some in fear, some in hope. Rebels, slaves, colonies under Virex rule. They had all suffered under the Empire's boot, believing no one could stand against it. Now they saw someone had. On Earth, the victory was celebrated like none before. The footage of the explosion played again and again. Jake, Morrow, Sam, and Lisa became names people knew, not just soldiers, but symbols. But the war wasn't over. It was only changing. In the weeks that followed, reports came in from deep space. Small attacks on Virex outposts, supply lines cut, bases left burning. At first, the Virex blamed pirates or rogue groups. Then they found something worse: human weapons. Word spread fast. Resistance cells on occupied worlds were rising up, and they were being trained by humans. Jake didn't stay on Earth long. As soon as he could, he went back out. Missions took him to places most had never heard of: rocky moons, frozen stations, enemy-held cities. He fought in the dark, led raids, and pulled survivors from fire. Sam stayed close. She helped build better gear, hacked into Virex networks, and taught others how to use alien tech. She wasn't a soldier, not really, but she made soldiers stronger. Lisa did something different. She became Earth's first official envoy to the outer systems. Where once humans were ignored, now leaders wanted to talk. Some feared them. Others wanted to join them. She met with alien leaders in secret, signed quiet deals, built trust where there was none. Earth was no longer just defending itself. It was building an alliance. One night, on a small station orbiting a forgotten planet, Jake sat with Sam and Lisa watching the stars. "You think we started something good?" Sam asked. Jake looked out at the sky. "I think we gave people a reason to fight back." Lisa nodded. "And now they won't stop." Across the galaxy, human ships flew beside those of other species. Fighters who once ran now stood side by side with Earth soldiers. The Virex still held power, but cracks were forming, and for the first time the galaxy wasn't afraid of what humans could do. They were afraid of what they would do. The war had changed. What once looked like a slow march toward Virex victory had become something else, something they did not expect. Earth was no longer alone. Across the stars, ships from many worlds flew together. Humans, rebels, freed colonies, and even some defectors from other empires now stood as one. The Virex had ruled through fear and strength, but humans brought something new: hope. Jake Morrow stood on the bridge of the Liberty, now joined by a fleet far greater than he had ever imagined. Behind him were dozens of ships, some human, most not, all ready to fight. Sam stood nearby, checking systems. Her hands moved fast over screens filled with alien code and human tech mixed together. She had helped build this alliance piece by piece. Lisa walked up beside Jake. "You ready for this?" He didn't answer right away. He looked at the stars ahead, the place where the final battle would happen. "No," he said, "but we don't get to wait." The plan was simple: strike hard at the heart of the Virex Empire, hit their command center, take out their leaders. If they could do that, the rest might fall apart. It wouldn't be easy. The Virex had built their capital world like a fortress: walls of steel, armies of soldiers, ships that could blot out the sun. But Earth had learned how to win. They used speed, surprise. They fought not just with weapons, but with will. As the fleet jumped into hyperspace, the galaxy held its breath. Inside the command ship, Jake gave orders. Sam ran tech support. Lisa handled diplomacy between allied forces. Every role mattered. The jump ended near the enemy world. Then came the storm. Fighters dove through fire and smoke. Bombers dropped death from above. Soldiers landed on the surface, fighting through streets and towers. Jake led his team into the core of the Virex palace. One last push, one last fight. By the time it was over, the Virex leaders were gone. Their empire was broken. Across their worlds, soldiers surrendered or fled. The war was won. Back on Earth, people cheered. Across the stars, others did too. Humanity had started as underdogs. Now they were something more. Not conquerors, not rulers. Protectors. As Jake looked out at the sky, he smiled. "We did it," he whispered. And somewhere, deep in space, the stars burned brighter than before.